Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Permission to board. Permission to come aboard. Permission to board. Permission to bring me aboard. Permission to come aboard.
Welcome to the Permission Granted podcast. Here's DA.
Welcome inside the Permission Granted podcast, everybody. DA with you. You can always subscribe to us on iTunes. Also, we're on SoundCloud and on YouTube, youtube.com/The DA Show. So excited to have you aboard. This is the final episode before the holidays. We'll talk to Mraz coming up here in a little bit. But joining us right now on the podcast is a friend of mine, longtime friend, Brandon Krisztal. He now covers the Broncos in Denver for Mile High Sports, thedenverpost.com as well. He joins us here on the podcast. BK, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. Just getting fired up for the final night of Hanukkah, Christmas around the corner. Holiday season is upon us. I am excited. Do you have a favorite holiday song or Christmas song?
Somebody asked me what my favorite Christmas song was, and I said Jingle Bell Rock, but then I had to rethink this. My favorite Christmas album is the Jackson 5 Christmas album, and I would really take any song off of that. Their Frosty the Snowman is really, really good, but I don't know. Christmas music, I can kind of take or leave mostly.
Yeah, I mean, I probably fall into that category as a whole, although I think there's probably a subconscious thing. Assuming you have relatively okay holiday memories, then it kind of makes you feel good. You're like, oh, the holidays are here. If you hate the holidays, you hate your family, or you used to get crappy presents or no presents, and you probably don't look forward to this time of year. But I don't know. I for whatever reason, I'm always partial to Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, and maybe it's because I like the movie Love Actually, as kind of cheesy as that is. But I don't know. I like that version of that song.
It's a good song. I feel like it's been a little pumped up over time, but it's a very good song, and it's a reminder of how good Mariah was when she was sane.
Yeah, what do you think that she and Nick Cannon sit around and talk about?
Are they still together?
I mean, they've got some twins. Don't know if they came from her, but they're
and
like
twins.
Yeah, why did Budweiser go back to that campaign? I really do wish. Super Bowl commercials are a month away. Somebody brought up Where's the Beef the other day.
So good.
Like, why not just everything? They've remade everything, right? Every movie has gotten remade.
Yeah.
Even new movies. I mean, they made Spider-Man movies 8 years ago, and they're like, you know what? Let's do new Spider-Mans.
Right.
They're redoing Batman. There's always these reincarnations. Why don't you just pick the best ad campaigns of all time? There has to be dogs out there that look like Spuds McKenzie, and there has to be old ladies that can pull off the Where's the Beef. Maybe this time it's an African-American actress playing the Where's the Beef lady.
So this is a really great point, because Hollywood, everything old is new again because they can't have any good ideas anymore. So they just franchise old ideas from the 70s or 80s or 90s, right? But in ad campaigns, I totally agree. Nostalgia is one of the most powerful emotions we have, dynamics we have as human beings. And when I see an old Coca-Cola ad like the Mean Joe Green ad, I'm like, I really want a Coke. Or if I see... I'll YouTube old McDonald's commercials and be like, you know what? This is really cool. I want to go to McDonald's. But I think that in today's day and age, because PR firms and marketing firms earn so much money, that they have to validate their existence by new marketing campaigns, because the old ones were better.
Look, you can Google this, but Coors did it a couple of years ago when they released the banquet beer and brought back their old cans. And Miller Lite, since they've brought back their old logos on cans and bottles, I think their sales are up 25%.
Exactly.
In the last quarter or 2 quarters since they made that change.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Maybe we should start our own. That's what we should do, is start our own PR firm, and then we'll just rework old campaigns. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Just play the hit.
And we will end up charging a quarter of what everybody else would charge, and we won't have to do any work. Remember when you used to drink Miller Genuine Draft, or Miller High Life, only because you drank it only because it was retro?
Well, I drank it because it was retro, and it was a champagne of beers.
Gotcha. For those that don't know, Brandon and I met now 11 years ago upon the launch of Sports Radio 610 in Kansas City, where we both work, 610 Sports, which was originally branded as 61 Sports because we took over for 61 Country, which I often think about. Can you believe that at one point in time, AM radio stations were branded with just the first two digits?
Well, I think the only reminder that we have in modern times after that, 61 country became 61 sports and then changed, I think probably pretty wisely. And the next thing they should probably do is just jump to the FM dial, as we've seen the rise of FM sports talk in so many major markets, is right there in New York City, where the true pioneers in sports talk radio is a 24-hour format. Sports Radio 66, the Fan, still referred to as that. And, at least casually in conversation. But that's maybe something retro that doesn't need to come back.
Well, but it makes a lot of sense, actually, because on the AM dial, everything ends in zeros. And so no matter what, you really could do it with just two digits, or I guess three digits if you're over 1,000. But I wonder why that went away.
Well, who knows? Maybe those folks there, you realize they're the real reason that 15-year-old kids can't complete real sentences, because they're like, you know what, abbreviation is good. And they were trendsetters. They didn't realize what a stupid trend they'd set as, people text you CULHR.
So speaking of this, do you think that sports talk is going to be around forever in its current entity? Because I'm talking to people in TV, and we all know that local sports is kind of going away, and that everything is going to go towards cable and national and some local, but on the cable side, things that are really heavy sports oriented you're just not going to get 3 minutes of sports anymore in your newscast. On the newspaper side, we know the newspapers are going away as well. We know that magazines like Sports Illustrated have been hurt. But it feels like sports radio is one of these things that will only continue in its current form for the most part for the future. Is that the one thing in sports media that we can kind of count on 25 years from now?
Well, I think as long as people are in their cars, sports talk radio is going to continue to exist. And so because it's just an extension of the conversation that you were having at work or when you were watching the game with your buddies, whether you're at someone's house or at a bar or whatever. And so because of that, even as we see music radio change, I mean, if I want to hear the new Taylor Swift song, instead of waiting every hour for it to come on, I just put it on my iPod or go satellite radio to the Taylor Swift channel or whatever it is. And with sports talk, last night the Broncos lost to the Bengals on Monday night. Well, if you want to get a reaction, or if you're a Broncos fan or a Bengals fan or just an NFL fan and you want to react to that, we're going to need an outlet for that. And so I think, especially, I live in Denver, so today the phone lines were lit up on every station in town with people panicking with how Peyton Manning performed last night. And so I think that's never going to change. I do think that, you and I are talking right now, and something that's going to air in podcast form, I think that'll continue to grow, because it's sort of like the growth of cable television, where a la carte programming, if you will, you just want to watch certain channels, certain shows, and on-demand has grown so much, and DVR is, okay, if you know that whoever your favorite analyst is, let's say it's Troy Aikman, or let's say it's Phil Simms, or let's say it's Charles Barkley, and you know Charles Barkley was on with Dan Patrick or Colin Cowherd or Jim Rome or on your show. Well, rather than knowing that it's going to come up in 2 hours, I can go back to the podcast and listen to, Charles Barkley was on with DA, my favorite talk show host. I can just go listen to those 15 minutes. So I think it'll continue to change to that as we, as technology allows us to do that. But I do think sports talk will always be around, because you're going to want to react to what's always going to be the ultimate reality television show, and that's live sporting events.
I think also it's not just about people being in the car. Obviously, if you're listening to the radio, that's a big part of it, or listening on your phone to a podcast or streaming on your phone. But think about how many TV shows or how many radio shows are now simulcast on television. Like, I just got done on the Doug Gottlieb show, which is simulcast, and earlier in the days, the Boomer and Carton show, CBS Sports Network has like 12 hours of radio programming on TV. And Colin is simulcast. Mike and Mike is simulcast. I mean, Dan Patrick is simulcast. Now you have the Rich Eisen show. So it's not just people in cars listening to sports talk. People at home are watching on TV. And that's something I did not foresee being popular, I would say, 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. But when you look at it from a content standpoint, other than live sports themselves, which we know that all the networks are fighting over the rights to the biggest events and even some of the smaller events. I mean, I think the reason the NBA package went as high as it did on the renewal with Turner and with ESPN ABC was because they knew that NBC and Fox Sports and CBS would swoop in and would try to compete for for some of that market share. So I think that when you look at what it costs to put on television shows and all the production that goes into it, well, at the end of the day, you still just need content. So if you're going to build a show like Sports Nation or His and Hers or this, all the shows, and ESPN is the only one that I think does it around the clock with a lot of different TV shows, First Take, PTI, Around the Horn. I mean, they're all kind of the same show in a lot of ways, but they're all just variations of sports talk radio. They just, because they're on TV, you have to drop in TV highlights over them. In some instances, and in other instances, you just have the host talking. So I think that while neither of us saw that necessarily coming, and if we would have, we probably could figure out a way to corner the market on it to some degree, even a decade ago. I think it only makes sense because you have the content of whether it's Colin Cowherd or Mike Francesa just sitting there in a single-man booth talking, or Doug Gottlieb, for 3+ hours. But it's easy live content that doesn't require a lot of production.
That's a good point. It's a good point that everything is kind of an extension of sports talk anyway. So it's just whether it's a half-hour show with highlights or whether it's a 3-hour show because it's a radio show that's on TV. So here's the thing that's interesting about the sports rights fees that have been exploding. I read a recent article this week that suggested maybe the end is coming on that because so many people are going to cable a la carte. Now, I haven't done this yet. I still have my full-on cable package, but I also find it completely ridiculous. And even though sports fans shouldn't, because we're the ones paying the most for the sports channels. It's the people that don't watch sports that are paying for tons of rights fees and ESPN and all that type of stuff. But for the day and age where we have a la carte TV, where you say, well, I want the sports tier, I want the sports channels, and I want MSNBC and Fox News, and I don't want anything else besides, the over the air. I don't want Food Network, and I don't want this and that and the other thing. Is that going to cut into what rights fees will go for?
I think, if anything, it'll go the other way because I flew. I did some part-time work for Westwood One, and I flew to Tampa last week to produce the Tampa Bay Bucks, Green Bay Packers football game on Sunday, which some fans actually got struck or touched by lightning in the parking lot, like 100 feet from where we were parked.
What's the difference between touched by lightning and struck by lightning?
Well, apparently they weren't struck. I think the lightning hit the ground,
okay,
and there was some sort of reverberation, and so 7 fans ended up in the hospital.
Right, but nobody was seriously injured, right?
Yeah, thankfully nobody was seriously injured, but it was in the parking lot where we parked. So
I wonder what that feels like when you're touched by, like, hot lightning asphalt.
I imagine it's pretty shocking.
Well, is it like touching a doorknob that has the static electricity? I mean, they weren't actually injured.
Yeah, I don't know. And you missed my poor pun there. But
what was the pun?
I said it was pretty shocking.
Oh.
Sorry. But, okay, so I flew down from Denver to Tampa last weekend. I flew Frontier Airlines there. They have TV available and like 25 DirecTV channels. I flew United back, and on some United flights I found this out. They have 100 DirecTV channels. And I was making the point to a friend of mine that I would literally pay anything just for the opportunity to watch TV mid-flight, even though I almost always bring my iPad, my laptop.
JetBlue does that, right? JetBlue?
What's that?
JetBlue, you can watch
TV. Yeah, of course. JetBlue was the first to do it, okay? But, I mean, I think it's $5.99 on Frontier, and depending on whether it's 2 hours or more than 2 hours, it's $5.99 or $7.99 on United, okay? And that's what I experienced this weekend. But I don't know what the cap would have to be, but honestly, if it was $19.99, I think I would still pay it. Even though, we're always bargain hunting for the cheapest flight. If you see a flight that's $200 versus one that's $180, you're like, I'm going to take the $180 flight all day. That's human nature. But the idea of having the TV available to me, even though I'm not going to watch it, I might sleep on the flight. That happens on plenty of people on plenty of flights. But I think that as consumers, as sports fans, and I know I'm taking a long time to make this point, but if you told me ESPN cost me $20 a month, I'd pay it. If you told me it cost me $50 a month, I'd pay it. I mean, does that mean I might not get NBC Sports Network or CBS Sports Network or Fox Sports 1 or even ESPN if I just decide I'm going to go watch Monday Night Football at a bar and I don't like any of their other programming? But I think a la carte programming is going to be better for the networks in the long run, depending on what your programming is, I guess, and what your programming costs are.
Well, see, that's interesting because you're right. Us sports sickos would pay anything for ESPN, for CBS, for the games, right? We would pay anything. But grandma is not. And so she's going to go, well, I'm not going to pay that for ESPN. And so it would have to make up the difference between all of the people that say, I'm not going to pay that because I don't watch enough sports for it to matter.
Yeah, and I don't know really. I think what will have to happen is it'll get to the point where, and technology will maybe get there, but like when you're in a cab and the meter's running, how long did you watch ESPN? And you have to pay for, I'm not saying this is the way it'll go, but maybe that's one way you regulate.
Could. Yeah, it could. See, here's what's interesting. It's very obvious that we are getting farther and farther away from TV as we knew it and much closer to the internet being on our television screen. And whether that's Apple TV or whether that's a million other things. I mean, that's been the big thing. Have you noticed this Christmas, everyone's pushing, I guess it's Google Chromecast or whatever. Everybody is pushing the Amazon Fire channel or whatever. Whatever's on your computer being just broadcast and hooked up to your television set.
Well, I think that's the evolution in the car as well. And we already know it on your mobile device. But you can download the app for every one of your favorite radio stations in the country. I mean, I've got a buddy here in Denver who's from Dallas, and he listens to the afternoon show from the guys at the Ticket every day on his app, on his phone, because he has unlimited data, so it's no big deal. And that's what he does. That's part of his daily routine. And I think the next step is, rather than doing it through your mobile device, pretty soon it'll be wired into your car. And you'll just be able to say, okay, if I want to listen to 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston, or 610 Sports where you and I work together in Kansas City, or CBS Sports Radio, I can just go to that, not even necessarily that app, however it's going to be configured. So I think that, yeah, that is where we're going. And Apple TV and Google Chromecast and all that is probably the next step, and that's going to continue to help the a la carte programming.
Yeah, I would say 10 years from now, we will not have cable the same way. That 10 years from now, they're going to break up the bundles, and you won't just pay a flat fee of $150 or $100 for X number of channels, and that it'll all be... I mean, because if you think about it, I thought about this. If I was not a sports fan, I probably wouldn't have cable because I would just watch all the TV shows I wanted via Netflix or Hulu or whatever and just put it onto my television set.
Yeah, I mean, I have a cousin who you know really well. He's the best man at my wedding, my cousin Arlo. He, for the last year, hasn't had cable. He has Apple TV, and then between my DirecTV, his folks have AT&T Uverse in Dallas. My folks have Comcast in Chicago. He's able to use all of our passwords to watch everything he wants. So he can watch, and it wasn't that he was even asking.
But he doesn't need. But he doesn't need to watch sports. He does not watch sports, right? Because that's the one thing that you couldn't do.
Well, no, you can watch ESPN on the Watch ESPN app, or you can watch TNT on the Watch TNT app. As long as you then log in with a cable provider, that's all it takes. So I was actually at his house in California a few weeks ago, and I logged into his Watch ESPN app.
So he's kind of couch surfing for TV. He's stealing
essentially, but I don't think he was actively doing it. I kind of brought him to that. He was happy just watching his over-the-air antenna and going to Netflix and Hulu and all the stuff you mentioned. But the point is that in order for that to occur right now, though, you need to, he needed to use those cable logins or DirecTV logins. But what we've seen this year, and this is the first time it happened, and this is maybe a step in the direction we're talking about, DirecTV has the NFL package. But if you don't have DirecTV, because all you have is Apple TV in this case, I have a friend in New York that's the same thing. They can't have DirecTV because they live in a high-rise apartment building. But they made a package available for internet only, and it's half the price of the Sunday ticket if you have DirecTV.
Right.
And you can get it through your Google Chromecast or Apple TV or whatever you're using, and you can just have the whole Sunday ticket available to you. The Red Zone channel with our buddy Andrew Siciliano and all the games that you're going to get on that. So that, I think, is maybe even an acknowledgement that, okay, internet only is not only a way that we are willing to go, but that they're probably going to have to go.
Wow, so you can watch every football game now on your TV for half the price. You would just kind of need the cable jack or whatever, the device that would put it from your laptop or your computer onto your television screen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the configuration on it because it's not something I've had to deal with. But talking to my buddy, because I have Sunday Ticket on DirecTV, I let him use that, but he couldn't put it on his television through Apple TV. He could sit and watch it on his laptop or on his iPad. But they give you there's the capacity. He was I think he went ahead and paid for it because He wanted to watch it on his big 60-inch TV in his living room or whatever. And so I think that that's kind of the first step in this process.
Final question about all of this is, are we going to be beyond high definition, and are we going to now go towards like 3D or hologram? Because it's interesting because 3D movies, have they really caught on, or was that kind of a flop?
Well, I think the biggest, I don't say hold up, but I don't know if hindrance is even the word, but is wearing the glasses and the 3D television in your house.
What, nobody wants to wear the glasses because they look stupid?
It's not even that it looks stupid. I mean, everyone's wearing them if you're in a movie watching a 3D IMAX, so everybody's wearing it. Or if you have, I mean, it is a little stupid if you're sitting in your house and your buddies come over to watch the game. You're like, hey, here are your glasses, all right? Or you make sure you bring your own glasses. I only have 4 3D glasses, and there's going to be 8 of us. So I think that part is stupid. But at the same time, I think you just have to figure out, and this isn't us having to figure this out, is, you know, the folks at Sony and Samsung and all the big TV makers and technology companies need to figure out how to make it 3D without you having to wear the glasses. You know, because when you're messing around on Google Maps or whatever, you can make it 3D, right, as you're scrolling around on your iPad or on your phone or whatever. And, you know, that's a pretty primitive comparison, but the idea is out there. And you know the actor Giovanni Ribisi?
Yeah.
I saw him in an interview because he took like a break from acting for a while and did all these graphic design classes. And he said that the next step, this is a couple of years ago, I feel like he was on the Carson Daly show, that late night show that comes on after.
Wow, you were watching that Last Call?
Yeah, well, I used to stay up really late before I got married. And so I was watching it, and so he's on there, and he had taken like all these classes at, you know, some art institute in LA or whatever, graphic design. And he was saying that there's a couple of steps, and the first step is going to be 3D without glasses, and then the next step is going to be, like you said, holograms or polygrams, where essentially, and I don't know how you can figure this, but let's say you have a media room in your house. You're then watching Monday Night Football. You can put yourself in the middle of the field, so the play's going on around, sort of like the umpire. And I don't know, again, this is me speculating and us looking at, you know, great ideas of the future. We're still waiting for flying cars or even a flying skateboard like from Back to the Future Part 2. So this is a ways away, but essentially it'll be you picking your vantage point, being able to watch the game from, you know, any 360-degree angle from any part of inside the stadium.
I like that. Brandon Krisztal joining us from Mile High Sports as well as DenverPost.com. BK, we shall do this again soon. And, man, if I find a hoverboard for you for this Hanukkah, I'll definitely try to get one for you.
Yeah, I would love a hoverboard. Also, I guess next time we can talk about movies and TV shows.
Yeah, that was supposed to come up. But, hey, we got sidetracked, and that's the beauty of the podcast. We'll talk to you again, man.
All right, can't wait. Happy holidays.
You too. Welcome to the producer side B part of the Permission Granted podcast, and the producer is going to be me because I'm back here working when Mraz is no longer. Mraz is on the phone right now. Why am I working and you're not?
Well, because it's time for Christmas vacation. I got the Chevy Chase going on. I got family coming over Christmas week. It's time to use my days off here at the end of the year and crank them out.
You will not do an overnight ever again. You will, at least not unless you get demoted.
That's a good point. Unless I get demoted, which I don't see happening anytime soon, hopefully, because I think I do a pretty good job. No, my overnight life is over. I'm loving it. This morning, as a matter of fact, I woke up at about noon, and I plan on never having to sleep that late again.
The bosses can always hang that over us, even though we're going to move shifts on January 2. They can always say, we need you to do this. And if we go, well, we're not doing that, they go, okay, do you want to sleep during the day again? Do you want to stay up all night? You want to go into the overnights? And then
that'll be the threat. And I cannot back down from that threat. I must now push forward and never, ever, ever have to be awake at 3 a.m. unless I've had a couple drinks until late weekend night.
Yeah, forget being up at 3 a.m. It's being up until 5 a.m. and then 6 a.m. and then 7 a.m. and then finally going to bed.
Yes, and then tossing and turning some days and never getting to bed till 9 a.m. It's just so unnatural. I really blame the overnights for the reason that I'm fat.
Yeah, we talked about this last time. I mean, you've got to be kidding if you really think that that's the reason that you're fat.
They say it's a very unhealthy lifestyle. I came in chubby. I'm leaving slightly less chubby, but I also peaked at borderline fat at a moment during these overnights, and I have the overnights to blame, I think.
Yeah, but what about me and Brock? We're not fat.
You guys have discipline. I have a discipline issue, too.
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
I have a self-discipline issue. I put it this way. I don't think in my 27 years of life have I ever walked past a refrigerator with my arms stood at my side.
And that's going to continue whether you get 8 hours of sleep at night or not.
No, because my mindset will be healthier now. It's all about the mindset. The
Yeah,
discipline changes with the mindset.
Well, now that you're off, what are you going to do with this all this time off? I mean, I'm going to be doing the overnights all next week, right through our new time shift change in January 2, and you're going to be sleeping like a baby. What are you going to be doing this whole time?
Well, it's a good question because obviously through Christmas week you have the holidays that you buy. That next New Year's week will be the week where really a lot's on the line there. I'm thinking going to watch a lot of bowl games, play a lot of PlayStation 3,
Great.
do a lot of Madden, a lot of NHL 15, and probably, boy, this comes back to the discipline issue. I'm going to eat a lot of potato chips and drink a lot of beer.
Hey, how about prepping for the new time shift in the new show? Is there any of that going on?
You know what? I hadn't really thought about that,
Yeah.
but now that you put me under the heat lamp, I would say that probably would be a good idea. Maybe I'll give it a rest on Monday and really get cracking next Tuesday.
Yeah, it might not be a bad thing to think ahead with the first week, a debut week on the show, a new time shift. All eyes will be on us. Attention's going to be on us.
Some guests or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it might behoove the show as executive producer to think about some potential guests or line certain things up or think about what we could do on the show. That could help us.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I was thinking about flying by the seat of my pants, but maybe to impress the new audience, I should actually do my job. The job that I'm getting employed on, not to have to do overnights anymore.
Yeah, I wonder what type of coach you need. There's the Bill Belichick approach, which is micromanage everything, do your job, and just very specifically give you the game plan. Like, Mraz, you've got to call this phone number at this time. You got to make sure this works at this time. You got to make sure that. Or do you need a more hands-off players coach approach where they trust you to do your job, they treat you like men, and they know that you're just going to do it?
I think I need a players coach approach. That being said,
No.
I think I might need a hybrid. I think I need a players coach, and then a guy to basically call me to the office and read me every once in a while if that direction's not working.
So you think you would be motivated by a yeller?
Yes, a yeller would infuriate me to the point where I'm angry, I'm ticked off. However, the message will have gotten sent because I don't want to be yelled at and be angered and be ticked off anymore, where I'm going to end up doing the job almost despite that person yelling at me, but really I'm doing what they wanted me to do all along.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I mean, you're a grown adult. Why do we need to have to motivate you to do your job?
Because I'm a grown adult only by age and driver's license. Inside, I'm a big blubbery baby.
Oh, great. Well, this is good to know.
Yes. I'm a child. I'm a man-child. There's no question about it. I love eating chicken fingers. I could be at a wedding, and I'll want the kiddie chicken fingers and French fries. I sit around. I basically, pass gas and then play video games. I'm disgusting.
Do you think that maybe you have arrested development?
I don't even know what that means.
Like you maybe stop maturing or you stop mentally developing at a certain age. Like maybe it was like 7 years old and you grew older, but mentally or emotionally you were arrested in the same spot.
That could be. That's kind of like that movie Jack, right, with Robin Williams. That's what he did.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of, because I do have some very childish things. I get the giggles real easily. Man, I'm really depressing myself. Way to start the vacation. Thank you. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Are you any more ready to have the new cast of characters come in for the new show?
I'm very excited. I'm in. Put it this way: I'm re-energized by their pumped upness, if you will. I got a new team coming in.
You needed a new rookie class to drag you out of the veteran doldrums.
Exactly. It had gone very dry. Not very dry because Kenny was fine or whatever, but it's almost like it was the same thing where now I got a couple guys really pumped up to join the show, and quite frankly, that energizes me to do a better job.
So you're saying that Brock wore you down or became he became too mundane and therefore you weren't excited about coming to work every day?
not that I wasn't excited, but it kind of became the same old thing, I would say. I was still excited. But you know what? To be honest, yeah, you know what? I think I need a new lifeblood. I think I need something to reinvigorate me.
This is so sad because that was only 2 years, and people work at their jobs for 30, 40, 50 years.
Well, I don't know how they do it. You need change. Change is always good.
Is it? You seem like the guy that would resist change at every turn.
Listen, I like change in minor circumstances. Like, I'm not changing. I'm still coming into work into the same building every day, doing the same show, but a little subtle change. Changing the time, changing a couple of people I work with is good. Just like a change in my lifestyle. We've made the jokes a million times. I was able to move out, but I did a little change. I moved out 6 houses away.
I mean, seriously, so you wanted to move out, but you wanted to stay on the same block. So very minor change steps is what you're looking for.
Exactly. Changes in doses, because if you do enough change in doses, eventually you break a big run. It's like a running back. A running back can keep hammering away for 2-yard gains, and you know what? You're pushing the pile a little bit. Eventually he's going to break a 60-yard run. You're going to go, oh, look at that. I'm the guy. Eventually in life I'm going to break a 60-yard run.
So you're kind of like the Ron Dane, just like kind of grind, 1 yard, 2 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, and then suddenly it breaks open for a 60-yarder.
Yeah, I hope I have a longer career than Ron Dane, but yes, essentially.
I'll give you Ron Dane in Wisconsin.
Okay, well, hey, you want a Heisman?
Yeah.
I'll take the Heisman. You give me a Heisman for producing, I'll take it.
Do you think the Jets should fire Rex?
Yes.
They got
100%.
to. You have to.
They have to, however, they have to be careful who they hire. I think they can't go back to doing a defensive they can't have a defensive coach come in there. They need a quote-unquote, not like Mark Trestman, a quarterback whisperer, if you will.
But they don't have a quarterback on that roster, so what does it matter?
Because they're going to have to get a quarterback in there, whether they draft one or whether they sign one. And that's what did Rex in. If you really think about it, if you hammer it away, all his quarterback issues and all his turnovers year after year, that's what did him in. And he wasn't savvy enough to coach a quarterback up. They need a quarterback, and they need a guy who could coach quarterbacks coaching that team. What's
funny is that Rex wins the press conference. Rex is he's really honest, and I do appreciate that. But the fact is, I think the players like him in spite of their lack of success. You know, he's one of these guys that's very likable, but I think they could have done more. I'm not saying they have a great roster, but how can you really say that Rex was a good coach this year?
I could make the case Rex hasn't been a coach the entire time he's been with the Jets. His clock management has been absolutely awful. And all you have to do is pinpoint into the second week of this season when they played the Packers in Lambeau. They had a 21-0 lead. And basically Geno Smith throws, they blew the lead, comes back. Geno Smith throws what would have been either the game-tying, game-winning touchdown. But a timeout was called, and he didn't know it was about to be called because he didn't even have his headset on the offensive channel because he was so worried about the defense. What kind of head coach is that? You have to care more about both sides of the ball instead of just one. He's too defensive-oriented where he can't balance it enough to be a great head coach in my mind.
Coughlin's going to come back, but if the Giants were making a head coaching change, and let's say it was not Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator, would you want them to go all in for either Cowher or Harbaugh?
I think the Harbaugh act runs thin, just like it did in San Francisco.
But you know he's going to win at some point.
Is he, though? He didn't win a Super Bowl with San Francisco.
Oh, come on.
And fell short.
Like you wouldn't take 3 straight NFC championship games?
100% I would. I'm not saying he's a big. Obviously, Harbaugh's a good coach. My point is the Giant way isn't to have a coach run through there very shortly. They're looking for a guy for the long term. Like Coughlin's been there for a decade. I think the Harbaugh shelf life as a head coach is about 5 years, and I don't think that's the Giant medicine. So I would go with a Cowher. I think you plug Cowher in there, he's there for the next decade.
Oh, come on. Cowher's so old at this point. He wouldn't be around much longer than 5 years.
I don't know about that. They would let a guy like Cowher coach until, what he's 73?
Well, think about that. I mean, yeah, they might let him, but that's not going to be an effective – he wouldn't coach for that long.
Here's the one negative you have on a guy like Cowher, besides the age, like you're saying.
Well, he's also been out of the league for a decade.
Right. The game has changed. It's absolutely changed. You don't know. But listen, do you forget how to coach? I think Cowher could still win. But I don't know. I'm not a big Harbaugh guy for my team. I think he's a great coach. I don't think he fits my specific team's mold.
See, to me, and Bill Cowher is 57 years old, so he's not terribly old. I mean, he
could coach there 10 years.
But the fact is, It's done. I mean, you can't be. Let's see. He retired after the 06 season because they won in 05. He came back. I think they were 500. They missed the playoffs. So he's been out. It's going to be next year. It's going to be 10 seasons, I think. 9 years, 10 seasons.
Joe Gibbs came back with Washington, right?
Yeah, boy, he was great.
Hey, who was better?
Everybody was better.
Got the racing team. He had all that focus going on while trying to coach a football team. The guy's a multitasker.
Everybody was better. Okay, so let's take the Patriots and the Broncos out of the mix in the AFC.
By the way, I like what you're doing here. I like you giving me some sports takes. I love this.
Why? Would I not do this normally?
No, I mean, no, at some point we talk about a vending machine somewhere along the line. I like to give you a little.
Okay, so let's take the Patriots and the Broncos out of it because they'll be the top 2 seeds more than likely as long as the Broncos win this game against the Raiders. Okay. For all of the AFC playoff teams that will play Wild Card Weekend, who's the most dangerous?
The Steelers.
Without hesitation.
Without hesitation, because that offense is so good. Ben Roethlisberger can throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns in any given playoff game, and Le'Veon Bell can gash any defense you throw at them, including the Patriots, because the Patriots' defense weakness is the run. I think now the defense is a little suspect. Their pass rush has gotten going over the last couple of weeks. Obviously they have a lot of older names in the defense, but man, that offense, this is a different kind of Steeler team than we've seen. The offense is everything, and I think they are the most explosive and the team that could score with New England and Denver. And a team that could go into type of team that could go into New England and beat the Patriots like we've seen in past years.
It's interesting because if the Steelers beat the Bengals on Sunday night, they'll be the 3 seed, I believe, right?
Right. They'll be the 3.
They'll be the 3 seed, and that means that they could go to Denver, right? If they were the 4, they would have to then go to New England if they won that game, and depending on how the seeding works out. But if both home teams, the Colts and the Steelers, won, the Colts would go to New England. And the Steelers could go to Denver. And with the way that Pittsburgh is playing, or with the way that the Denver is playing, you could definitely see Pittsburgh going there and winning. And then that sets up an AFC championship game at New England, theoretically, where the Steelers are the exact type of team that knocks out the Patriots every year.
I could not agree more. I think the Steelers are a very, very live team in either the second or even the championship round on the road. I think they could obviously win in Denver. We saw what happened on Monday Night Football with something's off. They're a running team right now because something's off with Peyton Manning, and that Steeler team can score on that Denver offense. And, man, going to New England, exactly. That's the kind of team. Look what the Jets did to New England on Sunday. You can run the ball on New England. I know their secondary is good. Their pass rush is good.
Yeah, but how much did the Patriots care about that game?
I think they cared. They're still playing they were playing for the 1. And I think Belichick has a team. You think Belichick wanted to lose to Rex there?
No. Rex always plays well against the Patriots.
No, exactly. And that was going to be a tough game. But, man, I know New England is a better New England team because their defense is better than we've seen the last couple of years. But, man, I think the Steelers could be very live going in there. If out of all those teams playing Wild Card Weekend, I think the Steelers have to be that team.
Yeah, I don't think that Denver can go to New England and win. I don't know about San Diego. I mean, the Chargers are this kind of ultimate wild card where when they play their best, they're gritty. They've got comeback ability. Phillip Rivers is having a really good season. They can't run the football, though. And
I wonder if injuries have just done. San Diego's hot, but eventually do they just not have enough horses to get the job in January because they've just taken so many blows with these injuries, and now Rivers with the bulging disc too.
I can't trust the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care what we saw on Monday night. I really like their defense, but Marvin Lewis's teams play flat. I love Jeremy Hill, but at some point Andy Dalton has to make a play, and I just don't trust him, especially in New England.
No, and they were in that Monday night game, even after they got the interception, they were basically scared to have Andy Dalton drop back there and throw balls. They just kept feeding it to Jeremy Hill. It didn't matter the situation. And if you don't trust your quarterback to make plays in this NFL, it's not the Trent Dilfer 2000 Ravens NFL. You can't win the big games.
And the Colts, I don't think the Colts can go up there and win either. I don't think they can go to Gillette and win.
No, absolutely. I think you would see a very similar outcome like you saw last year in that second round where the Colts absolutely were thrashed.
You know what's interesting? I talk about this a lot with the Patriots just because I saw it up close and personal, that every year we assume the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl because they have such this consistency of excellence. They win the division. They get a 1 or a 2 seed every year. They have the bye. And the national pundits just do not take into account that they lose every year in the playoffs of the Super Bowl. Every year this has happened for a decade. So I could see the Patriots winning fairly easily in the AFC playoffs and then getting too much to handle again in the Super Bowl if it's Seattle, if it's Green Bay, if it's a team like that out of the NFC.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if they do make a run to Seattle, a run to the Super Bowl, they better hope it's not Seattle waiting there. And I don't know who's going to go into Seattle and pick them off, but that Seattle pass rushing defense, I mean, that's the team that buries New England every year also. We talk about all the, especially in the Super Bowl. How did the Giants beat the Patriots in both those Super Bowls? They kept hitting Brady, and they never let him get comfortable in those games. Seattle will do the same thing. Seattle will not let Brady get comfortable in that game. And if that's the Super Bowl, I don't think New England's walking out of there with another ring.
Well, frankly, I don't know who, if Seattle gets the Super Bowl again, Seattle would have to play a really crappy football game, I think, to lose. Because I don't know. I mean, the Steelers, I guess they're the type of team that might be built to beat a Seahawks team. But if the Seahawks do enough to win those two games in the NFC, who's coming out of the AFC to beat them?
That's a good point. And you know what? I think a lot of us shy away from picking Seattle before the year, and even when they struggled earlier in the year from going to a Super Bowl, because there's this adage in the NFL where it's so hard to repeat now, and you never see it. I think the last team was New England. So where you just assumed, okay, Seattle won last year, they're going to be good, they're going to be in the playoffs, but eventually they're going to lose and they're not going to win a Super Bowl. I think it might be time to start buying in and thinking, this Seattle team is so good and so loaded that, you know what, this is the best shot we've seen at a champion repeating in a long, long time.
The problem is they just don't have enough passing with their wide receivers. There's just not enough talent to get open. And see, New England with both Revis and Browner, I mean, you can lock down their wide receivers so easily, and that would really render them very one-dimensional.
It would, and you'd have to have, obviously, a big game from Marshall and Lynch and hope Russell Wilson gets out there. But on the flip side, you take Seattle's defense pounding Brady there, and I think they make enough plays. So, I mean, you'd be looking at probably a really defensive-oriented, low-scoring Super Bowl if that was the case, but I still think Seattle would have enough to get the job done.
Best NFC team to, I mean, because I think Seattle's going to have the road to the Super Bowl, right, through the NFC. All they have to do is win on Sunday. Winning
in for the number one seed, yes. So the road to the Super Bowl is going through Seattle.
I think they're going to win that football game, and they're going to have the road going through Seattle, and that would mean, let's say, the first round. I mean, does the NFC South winner take out their team? Maybe.
They'll probably play Arizona.
And so they could, because Arizona is going to be down to freaking Logan Thomas playing in the playoffs.
Right.
So,
I think whoever if Arizona maybe won and Drew Stanton was back, maybe they'd have it. I doubt it, though, but I think Seattle's sitting there in the NFC Championship game. Probably, you figure Dallas is going to play if you assume the Lions lose to the Packers, Dallas would play the Lions. I actually like Dallas in that game. Dallas would go to Green Bay with the winner looking to go to Seattle. I probably like the Packers in that game. But if Dallas were to win, that would be Dallas is probably the one team you look at and say, because they beat Seattle in Seattle, they would have the best shot.
Dallas's offensive line and run game is the ultimate X factor, because if they are going to own the football for 40 minutes and they can run DeMarco Murray and be patient and grind you down, and he's going to have 150 yards, and
right.
All Tony Romo has to do is throw 3 jump balls to Des Bryant and 2 seam balls to Jason Witten, they can squeeze you to death. Now, the thing is, I don't trust Jason Garrett to know that. I don't know. There's something about Jason Garrett coming into the playoffs I just don't trust. But that offensive line changes everything for the Cowboys.
Listen, that offensive line and that run game can make a coach look a lot smarter than he is, and I have not been a big Cowboy believer. I think they'll probably would lose to Green Bay in the second round, but, man, if they were to rattle off 2 straight wins to get that confidence going and get kind of that monkey off Romo's back where he can't really succeed in the playoffs, and then be sitting there with a chance to go to the Super Bowl into Seattle where you know they won't be intimidating because they've already got the job done, that could be the one situation where Seattle gets picked off. And I hate saying that. It's the truth, man. The Cowboys are a live team here. The biggest hurdle for them will be just getting that win in Green Bay in the second round if you assume they do enough to beat the Lions in the first game.
What we've come away from after this conversation is that you believe both the Steelers and Cowboys are, quote, live teams.
Yes. You like that wording, huh?
I guess. Is that your thing? Where'd you hear that?
I pick up a lot of things. I don't know. I'm sure I saw that. I'm sure I saw that somewhere and I stole it from somebody.
What playoff quarterback, we'll wrap up with this, what playoff quarterback would you want to eat an entire pizza with?
What playoff quarterback would I want to eat an entire pizza with?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. You know what?
Roethlisberger?
No, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
You want to eat pizza with Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, because I have a feeling Olivia Munn would be there to wipe my face with a napkin.
Oh, yeah. But he doesn't strike me as a big eater.
Well, he lives in the land of cheese. You would think he likes pizza, right?
I guess. He's very thin, though.
Yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger's definitely a pig. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Roethlisberger definitely goes down the offseason and just basically sloshes down pizza and beers with his offensive line. So, he's probably a pig. I'm trying to think of the other quarterbacks. Roethlisberger's the biggest pig. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I would not want to eat pizza with Andy Dalton. I think that would just be awkward.
That would be boring. He would probably keep offering you the last slice. He'd be like, I'm good, I'm fine, you have it.
That would be, if that's so uncomfortable, you're right, that's an uncomfortable exchange.
Brady, I think, would barely eat it. He would take the cheese off, and he might eat like half of a slice, then he'd go back to his nuts and grains or something, his kale. Manning might eat pizza, Peyton, because he does own all those Papa John's.
Yeah, but that's fake pizza, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but maybe he's a pizza guy.
I guess, but he's a fake pizza guy. I think pizza.
Andrew Luck would probably eat pizza.
Yeah, but you know what? Probably very disgusting, man. Could you imagine the cheese getting stuck in that beard?
Oh yeah, like you're not disgusting.
When I ate the hot dogs next to Badlands Booker, it grossed me out, man. The guy had fruit punch covered hot dog bun rolling down this. It grossed me out, man. I can't have Andrew Luck sitting there with globs of cheese in his beard.
Russell Wilson would eat an appropriate number of slices, but do it only because he knew that was what he was supposed to do.
I think Russell Wilson will fork and knife a pizza.
Yeah, right. He would definitely fork and knife a pizza. I think whoever the Cardinals quarterback is, Ryan Lindley or Logan Thomas, they might eat pizza with you just because they don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
That's true, too, and especially if I'm buying.
Right, and let's see.
Matt Stafford?
Ooh, Matthew Stafford would eat a pizza. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Backwards hat, he would slam a pitcher of beer, then eat a couple slices with you.
Yeah, and I bet you Matt Stafford has perfected the fold of the slice of pizza.
Why do you say that?
I just feel like he's the kind of guy, because, see, I'm very wishy-washy when I eat pizza. Sometimes I fold, sometimes I don't. Matt Stafford, something about the backwards hat. Look, a guy with a backwards hat in a pizzeria is the kind of guy who has the hands where he takes the thumb and he takes the middle finger, and he knows how to fold a pizza just right. There's something about it. I've seen this act before. You've
seen this act. I would say Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, I don't know.
They do nothing for me with pizza.
They do nothing for you. Yeah, Cam Newton seems to be a real health nut. I mean, his physique is ridiculous, so I don't think he would really throw down pizza. And Matt Ryan seems like it would be a little nerdy. He would be always worrying about what tip that you should do.
Right, very uptight. I think if you really come to Stafford's cool, Roethlisberger's probably the guy.
Roethlisberger's be your 1, and then you go Stafford the 2.
Right, exactly. And then Luck would gross me out. And then I'm telling you, Rodgers, if Olivia's there, that's the way to go.
Olivia, boy, you just want to sit and watch her eat pizza.
Boy, something tells me later on I might sit and watch her do something else.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. That I was going for I'm going to watch porn later joke, but that didn't make any sense.
Oh, God.
Bad joke by me.
We're going to end on that. All right. You can check out the Permission Granted podcast each and every week here on iTunes. Subscribe to it on YouTube as well, youtube.com/The DA Show. We tweeted out DA on CBS. We also posted on Facebook, facebook.com/The DA Show. And Mraz, I'm sorry, if you're going to host the Permission Granted Side B, producer side, can you please stop having Brock do the final send-off?
I'm going to start doing it right. I have big plans for the new year with the Permission Granted podcast. Don't worry about that.
Oh, is that right?
Big plans. I'm going to be more professional on this podcast in the second year.
Oh, okay. Well,
I might even record it wearing a tuxedo.
Yeah, well, you just made an Olivia Munn porn joke, so
it was ill-timed and terrible around the holidays.
That's not exactly professional. That's not.
No. Well, you know what? I had to get my last unprofessional bit in now.
All right, thanks, Mraz.
All right, see you later.
Once again, this is the Permission Granted podcast. Everybody, we will see you next week. We're always available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube.